right. So I'm getting everything ready here, so give me a second. Yeah, so let's just give me like a couple minutes and I will be ready. So, and I'm sorry for the high camera, but I don't have too many places to mount this thing, so you should be able to see the guitar pretty good and my huge microphone here. So we'll hopefully this is still working. So I'm going to connect to the broadcast as well, and then you guys can tell me, hey, I hear you, I don't hear you. Still working. Turn it down here. So I'm going to look over here, and you'll see me looking off to the right here. So I just got back from dinner, and so I'm really full. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just start, because if you guys come on, cool. If not, this will be recorded and you can see it forever and ever. And yawn over it, or hopefully learn something from it. So I used to teach a long time ago, and it's kind of one of those things that yeah, I could start with plenty of things to do, but you know, I figure something that's maybe useful for I have to look way up here at the camera, you know, to make things useful on the page. This is kind of what I almost like what I do best, and what I'm more comfortable with is just showing people things, and I don't have to teach anymore really, so I still like doing it. So I wanted to kind of go through some maybe like a formula that I use and I started a long time ago, kind of I'm learning how to play lead guitar, and because hey, when you're younger, that's all you want to do. You don't want to play no chords. You want to get up there and you want to be like Michael J. Fox on Back to the Future. So the easiest thing everybody starts out with is Pentatonic Scales. I'm trying to look on this thing to see, make sure nobody's asking anything. There's nobody in here, so everybody's probably sleeping, like where I'm going to be here in like 20 minutes. So pentatonic scales. What are pentatonic scales? There are a basic scale. You probably, if you took when you're in elementary school, you probably remember things like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Those, you know. My tone sounds really thin. So that's a full scale. That's 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it has 2 notes that are the same. They call those octaves. And we refer to in music, we refer to things in notes. We call them, you know, we refer to numbers. So you know, that's the 3rd, that's the 5th, that's the whatever, and it's basically based off of this full length scale: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1 and 8 are always the same, and they call those octaves. So this example was a C. So, but pentatonic scales are 5 notes for penta, right? So you've probably heard, everybody's probably heard, and I'm starting off really basic, and I know a lot of you guys coming in here, if you reference this, you may be like, this is boring, I already know this stuff, but I want to build on this formula of going from pentatonics all the way into full-blown scales. So, and mixing those pentatonics in there and just getting out of that box that everybody gets into. And I'm, you know, here, this is what I do for myself. I don't get things, I'm pretty lazy. I don't do too many complicated things, and I end up repeating myself a lot of times. So, like, I play the same kind of things because it's what I'm comfortable with. But a lot of people will sit in here, and you've seen people play. That's a pentatonic scale. And a lot of times they'll get stuck in this one pattern. Right? So they'll play that one pattern over and over again, and then they're like, I don't know where to go from there. They may slide up, So they may, but they kind of stay stuck in this, and then, or they just try to, like, flub their way through and kind of find, okay, I'm stuck here, I don't know what to do, and then they just kind of just stay there, and they're embarrassed because they can't do anything else. I want to try to break you out of that so you can learn your way up the fretboard. And this formula that I teach and that I've taught, it does work. Okay, so you just have to. The hard part is memorizing things in the beginning. You just have to memorize the patterns, and then everything else can move up from there, right? So let me start. And I don't know if you can even see what I'll try to do. Maybe if I watch the video later, it may be hard to see these. I don't know if you can even see the patterns. And I'll scroll down as I work through the patterns. And if it doesn't turn out right, then I'll just maybe put a link and you can download this PDF. But a lot of times we'll start off in C major. C major is pretty easy because C major has no sharps and flats. And sharps and flats in music is basically, if you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, those are just what they call natural notes. Well, if it was sharps or flats, you'd have C, and it goes sharp is the next one up, is a half step up. Half step on a guitar is 1 fret. Flat would be 1 step down, or half step down, or 1 fret down. We don't have to worry about that with these. They're pretty easy. So they're all just natural notes. So I want to start with the first one. What I learned, everybody has different ways of learning these things. They call them different positions. The first position that I'm going to start with may not be the first position you learned. A lot of times I see my third position being the first position for people, but this is how I learned them. It doesn't really matter what the position is. It just matters where they are relative to each other and how you can connect them together. I'm so full from dinner I can hardly talk, but good Lord. Meg O'Malley's our favorite place, so on Friday nights. So first one, let's say let's just play a C chord. If you don't know a C chord, well, that's another lesson. Now I'm gonna play these on the right, these scales through there, and you're gonna see how they kind of connect with each other. So the first one, what I call my first pattern, and all these are in the key of C. It's a diminished, and then C. So I played my scale of chords over that. You can play any of those chords, and then solo over those. And here in a few minutes, after we go through these, I'm going to play a rhythm behind this, and I'm going to show you how these connect and how they sound. And it's really neat because you can just, you can just play through these patterns and, kind of do anything here. And I'm watching my stream. I'm hoping it's not like stopped, but I've taught this a million times, so I can keep going on this. All right, so first pattern. Over on the right, we got pattern 1. We got an open E string. Turn my distortion down. So that's pattern 1. You got to memorize it. Just memorize it. Go to the next one, right? Now, if you watch, my pentatonics are pretty forgiving. When I start getting into the other scales, I get pretty particular about. Sorry guys, I'm just like spacing out here. I get pretty particular about where my fingers go. But when I'm playing pentatonics, I'm all over the place, and so I'm not going to be too picky on telling you guys you got to use these fingers. But don't just use a couple fingers here. You got 4 of them here in use. I'm saying you got 5, of course, but 4 that are going to help you out. So if you can put your pinky in there, get your pinky in there a little bit. Second pattern. So between the two, they connect. Wherever the pattern 1 ends, pattern 2 begins. So first pattern was open in the G, 3rd fret. Second one starts at G and goes to A. Did I just lose my... No, I got it. So, next one, pattern 3. This is the one that a lot of people talk about being pattern 1. Whatever you want to call it, I don't care. The most popular one. You've seen that? So that one, it's actually A minor or C major. Third pattern. Up to the 5th pattern. Did I say 5th? 1, 3, 4, 5. Up to 6. Pattern 6 is actually the same as pattern 1, just 1 octave lower, higher, right? I'm gonna get out of here. Sorry guys, this stream is freaking out here. Let's go back into Bookface. Alright. And then, so like I was saying, pattern 6 and pattern 1, same thing. So if you look, we have pattern 1, open E, and then the G on the 3rd fret. If we go to pattern 6, we have the double dots, 12th fret. That's the same as open E. And then the 15th fret, which is G. Same, just sounds a little different, but it's actually the same notes. So the cool thing about that is, and why that's so important, is that you can relate. Like all these are what they call movable. So when you're playing and finding the right key, like if we were playing in a different key, and a lot of times you'll be able to balance, say, oh, this is in, we're playing this in G. And there's a way to find, and I'll kind of go through that later, but there's a way to find out where the start of the key is, and then you can take every scale after that and kind of relate it around there. So back to our first pattern. Now, obviously, playing those like one after the other can be kind of boring, but what I like to do to practice them. And the hardest part about, unless you're like Zach Wilde, who got really good at doing 2 notes per string, 3 note per string is always a little easier. Right? So just the way that the pick falls, it's a lot easier. Instead of playing this. I was never very good at it, but Zach Wilde is very good, I just don't have that technique. But a good way to practice that is this, right? So what I do is I'll do these up and down. And then go to the next one, but slide up to the end of it and go down. Again. And so then I'll keep doing that. So let me play a little bit of those, and then you'll hear me kind of speed up a little bit. But this is how I remember going, one way and then going the other way. So it's a kind of a cool pattern. That way you can take little small patterns in here and kind of do them as when you're playing in like a lead or something like that. But I messed up. There's about 5 or 6 missed notes. But I haven't done that in a while. But I used to practice that all the time. I'm not very good the other way, which is starting this way, right? At least on the first pattern, I'm not very good. But just learn the patterns. And then once you do that, then like I said, I'm going to tell you how to find those moving up the neck, right, and where to start. And pattern 3, which again people talk about maybe pattern 1. Pattern 3 tells me everything I need to know because it has the root note of where we're at, and the root is the scale that we're in. So our root note here is C. So we're playing in, I say root, it has the key of it. So in this C major pentatonic, pattern 3, or maybe some of you guys' pattern 1, has my root in it, which is the second note of that third pattern. So there's the C. So if I take that and I know whatever key I'm in, I can take and I can play that pattern, and then I can connect the rest of the patterns along with it. I've had a lot of sleep, so if I'm repeating myself, that was awesome. Alright, well, for some reason I think the camera reset and then actually went to a smaller screen. So let me turn this off. Figure out what's going on. Oh, the beauty of doing these kind of things. Let's see if I can make it through another few minutes of this, because I have no idea what just happened to my camera. Where was I at? Connecting them together. So this one here, I went in C. In pattern 3. So that told me everything I need to go. If I wanted to move that, say I was in say I was in the key of, let's say, E major. Alright? I can take that second note of pattern 3, right? And then I could take pattern 2, which is just below it, pattern 4. I just totally messed that up. There we go. So you can take those and just slide in and out and kind of play around with those. Pattern 4, pattern 5. Oh my gosh. we're gonna keep the camera like this because I don't know what's happening. Maybe I can stretch it out a little bit here. Let's try this. Wow. Maybe go back to a traditional camera. This dang GoPro. All right, well, let's move on here. So I did all the 6 patterns. What I want to do now is I want to show you kind of how that stuff fits within. What was I saying? Fits within a song. So I got a little. Hopefully I can get it to repeat, right? And A. Start on pattern 2. I'm just making something up, you know? Just went all the way up, patterns 1 through 5. And what you do is just paint those pictures, right? Paint those dots on there. And just stick with this one key, right? And you could probably find... Stop this guy. So you could... I'm sure you could find backing tracks. I mean, maybe I can even post one and you can save it down. But you could find plenty of these backing tracks. And whatever key you want... And remember that pattern 3, that second note, if somebody's putting that out and saying, hey, it's in the key of C. You might hear somebody say, oh, it's in the key of A minor or whatever. There's every major chord or scale has a relative minor. And relative minor means it shares. It's just like relative. It shares that same, oh my gosh, what is going on here? So I'll wait for this to kick on. So like I was saying, every relative major has a relative minor. So we have C. If you go 3 steps down, that's the relative minor, or the first note of pattern 3. That's your relative minor. So somebody might say, "Oh, we're in A minor." Well, there it is. So let me go back to that, and I'll do a couple more lead parts in there before the camera shuts off again. I don't know if it's maybe overheating or something. I have no idea. So let me start this again. I hadn't even covered bends. You know, we'll do that later, right? So, and you see a lot of guys, you know, they just bend. They have no idea where they're bending, right? Well, now you know. Now you know. You can look at that next pattern, and you can see where that bend is, and you can go, well, here's my... It's a matter of just practicing to get that right note. So you can take any phrase, I say phrase of things, right? And practice bending that up. bends. Those are 1.5 bends. They call them 3 frets up. But they sound cool because you can get this, you know. So when I'm playing, I always try to hear if I'm playing like the blues kind of stuff, right? I'm waiting for that change, and maybe something I'll put in there that kind of backs that up, like when I'm going ready to play this D9, you know? Coming in here, I'm ready to, you know, and then, you know, back up to the 5, which is in our 12-bar blues. That's the one that I didn't teach that, but 12-bar blues follows particular chords generally, and they usually are 1, 4, 5. Remember the 1, the 4, and the 5? So 4, 5. Anyway, I'm trying to hurry up before my camera freaks out again. So anyway, that's a quick lesson to kind of get you started on that. Maybe I'll figure out my technical issues and kind of start back. The pentatonic patterns, I didn't even scroll down, which was kind of silly of me, to the other patterns. So I'll leave it there, right? Let's see. And maybe you can kind of see those and copy those down. So that way you can kind of pause the video and get pattern 3 through 5. But anyway, that starts us out. What I like to cover next time is coming back into the pentatonics, throwing in a couple variations on those called the blues pentatonic scales, which kind of put a different spin on some of them, you know. Add a nice little flair to them. So some fun, easy stuff, and maybe we can break everybody out of the box, which is pattern 3 everybody gets stuck in. So it's bedtime for me. I'm not even thinking clearly. So I hope this is somewhat useful for you guys, and you know, comment and give me some more suggestions, trying to make it easy enough and somewhere where everybody can start out, and then maybe we can throw in some cool advanced licks for some of you out there, and then we can challenge each other. So good night, see ya.